Hi there, this is Raising Hales with Hale Hives, and this is my first video on Hale Hives YouTube channel. So I wanted to give you all an overview quickly of my small little apiary here. This is our first hive from 2019. We call it Alpha since it was the first hive. Alpha did well first year. We got about 20 pounds of honey off of her. And then for 2020, we split Alpha into Beta, and in 2020, we ended up with about 207, I want to say, pounds of honey that year out of those two hives. And then in 2021, last year, we actually split both of these into what we call Old Yeller, because I built those boxes and paid them Yeller, and into Charlie, which Charlie was a late split, and so we didn't get much out of her, maybe a couple frames out of her. But out of those three hives, after having about at least three splits out of these, three swarms out of these hives during that time last year, we still got about over 200 pounds of honey out of these three colonies. It is June the 4th here, 2022, and we're fixing to do an extraction today. We usually don't extract until the second week in July after everything's done. But as you can see, for two reasons. One, I'm getting too old to stack deep boxes and pull them off of hives this high, and so we need to take something right now. The tallow flow is about halfway over here in Louisiana, and I need to give them some more room, but I need to take off what we've got now. But for another reason too is this hive, Old Yeller, has been going crazy this year, making brood, and this empty box I put on last week just to give them some more room, but last Sunday still, they took off and swarmed on me. So now I've got all this room with half the bees I used to have, and they're having a hard time covering it, and I don't want to end up with the slime out from the small hive beetles that we get very prolifically here in Louisiana. Plus, this hive over here, I think we under-supered with this one 2 weeks ago. This one's about solid full. This one was 3/4 full, and this was empty. They probably put on more in here, so this one's about ready to come off as well. This empty box I think we'll put over here on Charlie and give Charlie a little more time since she was a little late to the party this year. And I'll drop this one all the way down and then put another empty on as this one's still trying to rebuild. So walk with us today as we take some deep supers off of these, honey supers, and we will work our way into the kitchen and do the extraction today. Come on and join us. Thank you. Okay, well, before we get started taking boxes off, and I'm going to probably suit up because the bees have been quite anxious with all the stores that they have in their hives right now, so they're pretty aggressive sometimes. But just wanted to show you that before I get suited up and take the boxes off, we're going to show that how I use a fume board or whatever to get them off. So we're going to show that right here, and then we'll take the boxes off in a little bit and get to the extraction part. So for right now, we'll just get this off. Let's see what's going on up here. These up here. Bees on it, so we'll go ahead and add the fume board, get them comfortable with getting out of there today, so we can take the next step. This is a Fisher Bee Quick. I like the smell of it. It smells like black cherry. Like that. Put this on here, and then we'll give it about 10 minutes and come back and see what's going on. All right, see you then. That let's take place, okay? Whoa! Guys up there, they like the smell of it. fun, is it? I'll go ahead and smoke that a little more in there. I think I like the smell of that. So, just smoked them all the way down. We're going to take this box off of here since it was mostly empty from last week. Stick it over there on Charlie where it needs it. So we'll go ahead and give them the smoke on the inside here, in the middle. We're fixing to come off of. Pull this box off. You can tell it's empty, one-handed there. And we'll go ahead and put the fume board on this one because this is a pretty full honey super here. So we'll give it a minute before we take it back in. Let's go put that fume board back on top of this. While that's doing its magic, we'll take this empty super, which has a little bit of pole comb in it from, and then checkerboarding it with some new foundation here. Trying to get them to draw out some new comb, but we'll put this back over here on the other hive and see if they like it a little better here. Since this is new stuff, I'm still running the 10 frames instead of going down to a 9 frame, which that box up there will be a 9 frame box. So let's see what Charlie's got to offer here today. Louisiana political sign, vote early and vote often. That's Louisiana's slogan. Full up. See if we can coax them down a little bit. Seem a little bit feisty. I'm going to come over here and we'll look inside at the top through this screened inner cover. You can see this box was put on a couple weeks ago. Look at the white comb you can see all in there. It looks like it's already all capped down in the sides in between there. Looks like they're still building a few of these out just a little bit, but for the most part, they're working this one really well. See a little bridge comb in there and all the white wax, so they do still need a little more room. So that's why we're here giving them some room today. So I'll squirt. And let's invite them down before I take this lid off and put them in the box on.
Is it sprinkled?
Cover. This is right there. What's up? Get on top. We'll give Charlie a little longer. She's not big enough. This is what gets magic over here. They can get a very heavy. All I've got. Get it off of here. Smoke in between the two. second. Look inside of here real quick too. The next one down. Next one down, you can see it's got a bunch of white full comb and all in here too. We'll be taking this one off next. You can see that we're running a 9-frame honey super here. You can see the Dixie towels too that we're using to try to help control the small hive beetles. Doesn't look as bad as last. Last thing we want to do is lose a bunch of honey because of last week's swarm. So, for the most part, bee stuck in a towel. And the rest of those are there. So you see, there's a thin one. It's not drawing out on that side. They're packing in on that side. But look how thick. Look how thick that comb is. That's that 9-frame cone. You can see how fat and how extra wide they draw it out. And then my other checkerboarding ones from this year, they're thinner. But that's a full frame of good Louisiana honey. So that thing probably weighs about 70 pounds. Let's see. That's not all capped. But it ain't coming out at all. So we'll go ahead and take this. So there's another fat frame. And you're doing a frame that is new this year. Got it fully drawn. So, looks like even this edge frame. There's a beep. Go back. I don't want you in the house. Except for that side of that one. No, that's full on that side. Essentially, except for this one right here, on both sides of that one, everything else is fully drawn. So, looking good. Let's see what that other box looks like before we go upstairs. Go inside. Cover that up. Little signs come in handy. Let's see where they are in this box. And then we'll see these two while we're here. You see this kind of wood here, and over there on Charlie, and over there on Alpha. We started using that Eco wood treatment. I put some on 2 years ago on those bottom darker boxes, and then the lighter top ones I just did this year. So we're going to take a see and see how that Eco wood works too. This honey super right here has got it on it. This is from this year's treatment. Smoking there. I'm going to leave that on there. Give that a twist. Make sure it comes out very good. I changed my mind. I'm not leaving that on. Too slippery. Still left in this one. As you can see those frames, 9-frame configuration. You can see how they're all built out nice and fat on there, white wax and ready to go. So before I lose these to hive beetles, I would like to keep that for myself. Since there's that many bees still on this one, over here. Give on top, and then maybe we'll get a brush them off. So, tell you what, we're going to go ahead and put that back on here for just a minute. I'm going to go get another empty box to put on here after we get done, and we'll go ahead and take this box too right now. Give us a second. See you in a minute. Okay, we gave these guys a minute. I went and got another box to put on after we take that blue one off, but we may not get to that just yet. We'll see. Went ahead and put the fume board on this one. Try and see if we can coax these down so we can take that box with us. And then we'll put the fume board back on that one, see if we can get them to move out a little bit. So let's see where we're at with these girls here. Coming in a little bit. Let's go ahead and smoke it down a little bit. The fume board does not seem to be working as well as it has in the past. We can just tip these up. We may just have to shake a few out before we take them in. This one looks pretty good too, except for that frame there is a little light. The rest of these from last year are looking pretty heavy. A few girls checking out the knees here. Get that one out of there too. That frame, even though it was a new one this year, not quite to look at. Let's see. So far, so good. And ladies, get you out of this box. Go back home for now. Do your job, and we'll come back and collect you on the back side. Not big on the V-brush, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. In. Just coax him out a little bit. Take off the side of me. Don't like me. Give me a second. We may have a bee or two left over when we're done here, but we will take care of those before we go in the house. So, right now. Keep them all out of the rest of that. That'll work for right now. We'll prep this box. We'll go back on, and we'll go ahead and put the beam. And this one to go on the next box down. Give it a couple more quirks. This hive still looks pretty good. I was worried about population, but they still have quite a few here on the top. Right now we're just going to smoke them down and get this screen cover off, put that fume board on, and go from here. So we'll let them work on that one a little while. Let's take these inside. We've got some work to do now. See you in a bit. Well, 2 boxes that we took off of old Yeller here, box 1 and box 2. This one's been on there the longest. We came in and tested them in box 3. That one has a little higher moisture content since it was only about half capped through there. It's running about 17.5 or so. So I think we're going to probably put that one back on and give them a little bit more since we don't see the hive beetle damage that I was really fearing. Box 1's the one's been on there the longest, it's been drawn out the most. And we'll frame out of this one, you can see it's fully capped. Testing it is coming out at about 15.5 or 16 on the moisture, so it's good to go. Nice and fully capped. This will be a joy to uncap. This year we bought at the Hive Life conference or whatever back in February. We bought a new Hilco extractor. This is an 8-frame radial extractor. And so this will be the first year that we're using it, so we're really looking forward to using this instead of the form frame tangential, which we had used in the past. So let's go ahead. Also bought a new uncapping knife. Previously we used these little ones, and they're not bad, but they don't fit. You can only zigzag a short way across these deep frames like this. These probably work well for medium frames, but for a deep frame, you've only got a short little place to use that serrated blade. Now we got a very large one that you can use a lot, get a lot more sawing action in there. So let's see. And this we bought last year too. This is our Hive Butler uncapping tank, which we're really enjoying as well. Have a couple modifications to it this year. We're trying something new to try to keep the wax out of the bottom a little better. So let's see how this works right here. Put this knife out onto the grill in the back and let it get a little warm out there, but you can see that 9-frame configuration on those really just lets this stuff just peel right off and leaves you a beautiful frame to extract. Just kind of make sure we get those last little things off the top. And nobody likes dealing with that uncapping fork. So this lets you not have to deal with the uncapping fork as much at all. So this big old knife works really well. Looks like if you get a little stuff going on, you can always just take it and scrape it off. So this is the first time we've used this. Just get your little zigzag motion going across there. It's best if you tilt it back this way. And it just comes right off. With this new uncapping knife and having ran a 9-frame configuration in these Honey Supers this year, it sure makes for uncapping a lot easier. But it's just sticking the knife down to the bottom, giving it a long saw strokes back and forth as you come up that comb and letting those cappings just fall off into the bin. Slow and easy. Get to the other end, pull it off. Except for a couple of places, you don't hardly have to touch the dreaded uncapping or capping fork. Ready to go. This other side is even deeper. One thing we found that we don't like as much as this though is when you get these well built out 9 frames, look how much honey is dropping down into the uncapping tank. It makes a nice pretty frame, but you got another mess to deal with later. So let's work on ourselves a few more of these frames and show you, and then we'll give this a spin and go from there. Well, got that first box taken care of. We've got 8 frames in this thing. Beautiful honey ready to extract. There was one frame in there that was, I think we showed you before, didn't actually pull out all the way. So hopefully this is not as full as all the rest of them. This doesn't make us go too wonky or whatever when we turn this on, but let's give her a spin and see where we're at. better? You can see it hitting the walls or whatever in here already. This is going to be nice with this radial extractor to where you do not have to turn these frames back around halfway through. A little unbalanced from that one frame, but we're taking it slow right now. One nice thing about this Hilco extractor is that it's got this valve comes out from underneath the bottom of the tank instead of most of them come out on the sides to where you end up leaving a whole ring of honey down at the bottom. This one comes out of the bottom. We'll open that up in just a minute. Well, actually we're already getting some honey out in it, so let's go ahead and just... There it comes. Doesn't that look good? A little too much right there. Let's slow it down a little bit till it gets a little bit more stable. Because there's about 80 pounds of honey in there spinning around. You can look down in there and just see it puddling up at the bottom. Straight down in. Finish this up and see how much we get out of this one box of, actually 8 frames out of this one box. See you in a minute. Well, hey, we're back. It's actually been a week later since we recorded this last time and did the extraction. We had a dinner party to go last weekend and didn't get back to filming, but we didn't get to show you all the results out of Old Yeller and the I think it was the purple box or whatever that was on top of Old Yeller. We ended up with 3.5 gallons or 41.4 pounds out of Old Yeller. That was out of 7.5 frames, I guess, out of that one, if you recall. And then out of Alpha, we took one box out of there too, and we ended up with 52 pounds out of that. Now that was 9 full frames that we did extract out of this one. So this was about what, 94 pounds. Plus we had about in the uncapping tank about another 9 or 10 pounds of that. That I already bottled up and we gave away as gifts to our dinner party guests last week and also to colleagues at work. So now we've got to finish, this has been sitting here all week, skimming the bubbles off the top and letting things settle a little bit. So now we're going to be on to going ahead and taking the last step, which is bottling this up. Next step is to give some to the neighbors. You know, the saying is good fences make good neighbors. Well, so do good beekeepers. So be sure you give your neighbors around you a pound of honey too. So we'll take that next step of bottling up and show you all the results in just a minute. And here we have the final products from the first extraction of 2022, the first fruits of this year. We ended up with about 39 pounds out of Old Yeller in these 1 pound bottles, and about 30 1 pounder and about 40 half pounders coming out of Alpha. We had already given away some already. This was already getting to be a little bit of a long video, so we didn't want to sit there and drag it out with the bottling and labeling of each one. We may go into a little more detail and when we do our extraction later in July and produce another video at that time showing things in a little more detail then. The second video right below this one will be the apiary follow-up 1 week after we were in it.
the time that we took these hives off, took these boxes off for the extraction. But this was an introduction video on our first fruits of 2022. Thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you watching our video.